last week's session, we understand that the proxy is possible in the world outside. The proxy is not possible for my self discovery. You can put the phone on charge. Source is electricity. Source is outside. When the source is outside, you have a proxy available. Cooking food, driving a car, managing finances. But proxy is not available. I have to eat my food myself. The waiter is not. So, and once the food is gone inside, the source of digestion is inside. The same way, the self inquiry, there is no proxy available. I have to do it myself. I have to think, I have to contemplate, I have to reflect on it. If I don't reflect and contemplate, then my mind does not change at all. So we have covered the 5 verses of this text. The 6th verse is known as the purity is absolutely essential. Purity of the mind. Purity of the mind is absolutely essential. Only the purity of the mind can find and realize the real self. Impure mind is clouded. That is what I discussed last week, the joy of attachment and pleasure of indulgence. Instantly my mind is running after how many objects I can find so that I can indulge in myself and I can get the pleasure. And then there's the ego of possessions. At least, even if you own the house does not have an ego. I have a big ego. And the house leaves me. House leaves me. So impure mind, that is how the impure mind is clouded, chaotic. It is chaotic, agitated. It's like a hurricane, swirling the waters of the awareness into frenzy. So how can we see clearly the ocean depth? How can I see the depth of myself? Where the debris and the mud are violently stirring up. So pure mind is still and clear, and it is tranquil, like a calm lake with the waters undisturbed. Only when the sediment settles in the ripple seas can the lake's bottom be visible. That is what exactly we are talking about. So you see, the impure mind cannot know the real self. That is very clear. Why? Because their impurity of the mind has a distortion. You look at a handsome guy or a beautiful woman, and imagination in the mind, imagination takes you away. It's a distortion. I don't want to say where it takes you away. We all know. Isn't it, John? It takes us away. So just, so distortion takes place. And because of the pleasure of indulgence, I don't see the distortion. That is the problem. And the impure mind has a turbulence. An impure mind is like a hurricane, like churning of the waters of the consciousness. I may be hypocritically outside very calm, but inside, agitation is going on because of the reaction, anxiety, and anger. Oh, I should have taught him a lesson, but I don't have that power to teach him a lesson. So obviously the conflict is there. Conflict is there in the mind, and I'm responsible for it. No one else is responsible for it. So impure mind, you can say sedimentation is there. Impurity is sinking and settling in the mind. These ideas of reaction, of anger, of hesitation, of jealousy, of hatred, they keep settling in my mind. So, and the same thing is used against other people in different situations. Because that has become the nature of the mind. so so we continue to live into the same state of stress and suffering, and then we ask, I have a lot of stress because of my dad, because of my mom, because of my honey. There is no because of you, because those impressions are already settled in your mind. That is why you reflect, you perceive the things not as they are, but you see the things reflected from your own mind. And impurities of the mind, obviously, I talked about in detail, is the joy of attachment. I always enjoy the joy of attachment. Oh, what? Oh, that is a soap opera. I have to watch it. You don't eat your food and you bring it in your living room and you start eating and you say, okay, oh, joy of attachment. Come on. Joy of attachment. At least one should be aware that soap opera is nothing but a fake story enacted into a movie. Some people, tell me, when I see an emotional scene, I have tears in your eyes. That is why you are crazy. You are the craziest guy. You are not in your senses. So I should be aware, this is a play. So when I have those emotional tears while looking at those horror scenes, so I should implement in my daily life also. Then I have seen a lot of people, they some very little thing happen and they have tears in their eyes, and they are sympathy for others. That is not the way of self-discovery. At least self-discovery will not take place for those people. And then we have a kind of a dullness in our life. That is also the impurity of the mind. A dullness. Impurity is dull the mirror of the mind. So it cannot accurately reflect. Just as the dust on a mirror dims its reflectivity. Impurity is dim perceptive clarity. The dullness of the mind is not able to see the things as it is. The impure mind, battered by the inner storms and clouded by the ego. Same thing. Joy of attachment, pleasure of indulgence, and ego of possession is. Now you have these three factors in your mind. Your mind is entirely preoccupied with the external world. You don't have an idea that where is the real self lies. So these are basically these factors. So now if I just do the opposite of the impurity, if I talk about the traits of the purity of the mind, it is the stillness. A pure, still mind is like a calm, clear lake that perfectly reflects what is, not what should be. When the ripples of the thought and emotions settle, we can definitely find the true self. That is the first of the purity of the mind. Second is the attention. A focused, one-pointed mind has penetrating power to see through the illusions. The attention means a focused, one-pointed mind can have a penetrating power to see through the joy of attachment, can see through the pleasure of indulgence, can see through the ego of possessions. You go outside and you have, what we say, you have a luxury car like BMW, and then you look at the neighbors, they have used car 20 years old. Okay. So you see the penetrating attention, this attention dissolves your ego. What I have to do with the neighbors? What I have, it's okay. And so you see that two traits, the stillness and the attention. So the stillness plus attention give rise to the third trait. It gives you a deep insight, mental and perceptual clarity is there. So that insight can recognize the real self. So ultimately, from the impurity to the purity, we have to go to that insight. As if you have a perfect vision 2020. What was hidden by the impurities now gets clarity directly. So what happens, there is another trait of the pure mind, it has a flow. So when you have the stillness, when you have the attention, when you have the insight, the mind has a flow, free from the debris and attachment. A pure mind becomes a smooth channel through which the awakening of the wisdom takes place. And it is mirror-like. It is mirror-like. That is why we will talk about this purity of the mind as how to follow the purity of the mind. We should also understand, according to the Eastern wisdom, what happens with the purity of the mind. When you have a purity of the mind, there is a sense of equanimity. Equanimity means what? You stay calm and balanced in positive and negative situations. In different situations, say the honey becomes angry and you become calm. You remain calm. You are not agitated. So its sense of equanimity is also one of the best traits of the mind once the mind is pure. As solid and as still as mountain. Second quality that I have discussed in detail is the dispassion, a sense of dispassion, being detached from the joy of attachment, pleasure of indulgence, ego of possession. You are not influenced by the external stimuli. My master used to give an example of a lotus leaves, lotus flower leaves. The moment the water falls on the lotus leaves, it slips. It is not absorbed. I don't know whether you have seen the lotus flower plants. So the more you pour the water, it does not stay. It doesn't stay there. It doesn't stick. It simply flows out. So that is one example of the dispassion. Then a sense of contentment is there. What is that contentment? That there is no greed. That is one. And there is no anxiety for the pleasure of indulgence. In a different way, we need to understand it. Contentment, a sense of contentment is there. Forgiveness is there. Letting go of the past. You forgive the past because you lived unconsciously, habitually, animally, you reacted and you had certain feelings and you let go of the past. A sense of forgiveness is there. Sometimes what happens, we are sitting alone and we are deeply wounded by our past impressions. I should not have married. Now you are married. 20 years have passed. No, I should not have married. Try to understand me. Because I do not want to understand you. You are crazy. So I still think of it. You think that you are not married. Why don't you imagine that? Even if you are married, you think that you are not married. So everything passes away. But we don't want to think. There is a sense of compassion also. In the purity of the mind, you have open-hearted empathy. and you have a care for others. What it means you have care for others? Your honey becomes angry and you are compassionate. What it means? Ah, there is no need to be angry, but he or she becomes angry, so let me remain silent and calm. Let him or her anger dissolve, and then I will talk to him. I should have that power of compassion in my mind. Then only I can discover my real self. Like mathematics, if you want to be a mathematician, you have to be analytical, rational. Otherwise, mathematics is not your subject. If you are more contemplative, reflective, philosophical, then you have to follow the Eastern wisdom. So every trait has to be understood clearly. One pointed, obviously, I discussed about it, and there should be a sense of self-control at the mental level, self-control. So I become instantly aware of the joy of attachment. I instantly become aware of the pleasure of indulgence in the ego of the possessions, and I just drop it from my mind. So that is what that is what we can say, the self-control. I see in the parties, so I attend a lot of parties here and there also in New Jersey. So sometimes I see the people are just, they storm to the food like vultures. And so I enjoy looking at them, as if I have come here to only eat. I have not come here to listen. Recently, I had a talk with a lot of people joined in, and the host arranged their food, and then I said, oh, so as if they were waiting after 2 hours of the talk, they were waiting for the food. So that sense of pleasure of indulgence is present. So I got a new topic, I said just after the food, I have a talk of pleasure of indulgence. And even then, some people did not understand it. It is because of the impurity of the mind. So, no, I'm not against taking the food, and so, but problem is there. So we don't want to live consciously. We have an ability to live consciously with self-awareness. We don't want to live. So when we don't want to live, then you have an impure mind. And there is another way to understand binding desire. This is a binding desire. Joy of attachment, pleasure of indulgence, and ego of possession binds you with a particular desire. The craving and attachment constantly entraps your mind. Constantly entraps your mind. We are tempted by alcohol whenever we are stressed. So obviously it is a binding desire. It's a binding desire. So binding desire. Then we have another impurity of the mind is anger. Feeling of irritation, rage, resentment, and ill will. This is what the anger is. Anger means that my expectations are not met. Simple. But how can I meet my expectations from different situations, from people and relationships? It also depends on them, not only on me. That I don't recognize. So once you recognize, you have a deeper insight, you contemplate and reflect, and you say, oh, there is no need of an anger. I also do not meet the expectations of others. So I don't recognize it. So that non-recognition is living animally and mentally. Living animally, habitually, impulsively. And that causes the anger. So these are the six basic enemies of the mind. They are also known in Eastern wisdom as the impurities of the mind. The first is the binding desire. So that the same desire becomes an anger, desire unfulfilled. And same desire, if it is fulfilled, so the pleasure of indulgence forces me to repeat it. So the same desire becomes greed. Think of it. It's such a beautiful analysis and understanding. So at the root of my suffering is the desire, binding desire. So the desire becomes anger, desire becomes the greed, and the same desire becomes the lust, excessive craving. Same desire. And the same desire, when it is continuously fulfilled, for example, pleasure of indulgence, it becomes ego. This same desire becomes the ego. Desire changes its color and the shape. And the same desire also becomes the hatred and envy, jealousy. Look, he has it, I don't have it. So that if you analyze constantly your anger, your lust, your greed, your envy, your jealousy, your restlessness, it is only because of desire, binding desire. Binding desire means that this object, this situation, this person can get me peace and happiness, but peace and happiness is not located there, and hence I pass through anger, I pass through ego and envy and the greed. Same desire becomes all these six. Pride, ego, that is what. But ultimately what happens once the raise, once the degree, the raise of that binding desire goes down, I do not fall into the normal state. I become lazy. Laziness takes over me. I don't want to do anything. And that causes a lot of challenges in our life. And ultimately, we start living with reaction, restlessness, anxiety, duality, and a conflict. And that is why the mental purity is extremely important. Mental purity is extremely important in the journey of the self-discovery. And one thing happens once you have a mental purity, our behavior changes, our attitude changes. A lot of our attitude goes on changing. And when those attitude changes, we realize how powerful these principles are. But then one problem, one challenge comes that I'm going to talk a brief, and then we will do the practice. Where I'm going to talk, Master have not left any space for us. For what? Whether we have a pure mind or whether we have an impure mind. Self-testing program. I have to do the self-testing program. You see how deeper inside the Eastern wisdom is. And that is known as karma yoga. Yoga word is attached. Why yoga word is attached? So I'll talk about it in the following session, but I'll tell you a literal meaning of the karma yoga. Here, karma means action. And here the word yoga means a mental state, a mental attitude by which I perform a particular action. You're angry, Your honey says, "Oh, can you give me a cup of coffee?" Okay, I'll just give you. So you see the mental attitude? You performed an action. Sometime it might have happened to you, both of you. No, I don't want to talk, you know. You have insulted me. So you see that, mental attitude and outer behavior is action and mental attitude. So our masters, they are the craziest people. They have not left any area unattended. That how to know, how to realize whether I have a purified state of the mind or not. That I'm going to talk in the next lesson. Close your eyes. Eyes are closed and being comfortable. So you look at the neck joint, be there, feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Move the mind on the shoulder joints. It's a mental, you see. We are changing the mental attitude, you see. That is what I'm going to take up in the following session. So you move the mind on the shoulder joints, be there, feel sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Move the mind, move the mind on the entire body. Feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. And look inside the body, a space, an emptiness. So we are giving a dose to the mind. Why don't you become aware of the space and emptiness instead of living with all those crazy thoughts at the superficial level? That attitude of the mind brings the comfort. It is not that I'm comfortable because I did something at the physical level and then being carefree. So, carefree again looks, thoughts are coming and going. You watch these thoughts comparing, standing across a road, watching the traffic. So, what is the finer point here? What is the insight here? Traffic is separate from the highway. Nothing happens to the highway. Whether you have a traffic jam, whether the highway is empty or it is full. We say highway is empty and highway is full, but nothing happens to the highway. So we have a deeper layer of the mind. The surface layer has the thoughts. What are the thoughts? Thoughts of binding desire, thoughts of joy of attachment, thoughts of pleasure of indulgence, thoughts of ego opposition. So what exactly we are just recognizing that the two are separate. The traffic is separate from the highway. So in a metaphorically, we say you are standing across a road watching the traffic. So you are not only watching the traffic, but you also know the highway does not change. That is what our So in order to have a deeper reflection, we can use the mantra. Asato ma satgamaya, asato ma satgamaya. Literal meaning falls to the real. So here it demands a cognitive ability. How it comes? By attention, by restfulness. You see that I talked about what is the purity of the mind. That is why we need the purity of the mind. So in that state of attention, I see what I see. Whatever is changing is not me, is false. So thought comes and goes, it is changing. Body is changing, mind is changing, intellect is changing, ego is changing, desire keeps changing. They are false. You recognize them as a false is the way to approach near to the real. So I simply do nothing internally. In modern psychology, we say a cognitive ability. Every human being has a cognitive ability. Some people have less because of impurity, some people have more because of the purity of the mind. Look at the essence of the mantra. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso, darkness to light. Here, metaphorically, darkness means ignorance, ignorance due to the impurity, and the wisdom due to the purity of the mind. I get the right knowledge. Right knowledge of what? Who am I? That is the journey. Mrityurma Mrityurma Amritangamaya. Third line of this mantra, Shanti mantra. Shanti means the peace mantra. So it means that I move from the mortality to immortality. The false always takes birth in the death. False is a birth and the growth and the maturity and the old age and the death. What is that? Body and the mind. So I claim that I am the body and the mind. When I claim and declare that I am the real self, it never dies. That is one meaning. So we have already reflected on the mantra, and now we still go for purification of the mind. Looking inside the forehead, in the space, you drop Om Shanti there, mentally, gently. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. First point. Second point, body remains steady. This is the second. Third point, start breathing quick and short breath through both the nostrils. Just continue breathing, continue saying Om Shanti, and keeping the body steady is the way. Continue. And just stop it. Do nothing. Do nothing. Just experience. We will see that how this breathing has affected and brought the change in our experience of the body. So you look at the head and the neck, and you move the mind on the entire head and the neck and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the right arm from the shoulder to the fingertips. Move it again. And if you don't feel any tingling or sensation, then move it again. What you're asking the mind that you have to go deeper within. What is the experience of deeper within? Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. The mind moves on the left arm from the shoulder to the fingertips and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the rib cage and sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the belly, all around. Feel the sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the right leg. Just check it. Move the mind once again on the right leg from the right side of the waist to the toes. And if you are feeling the sensation as the mind moves, it simply means you have the attention, you have the insight, and that brings an experience of sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the left leg. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind once again. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. The entire body, from the top of the head to the toes, sensation, relaxation, and stillness. In that state, look at the breath. The breath goes in, breath comes out. Pay attention. You are not changing the rate and the rhythm of the breath. Now, every time the breath goes in, simply mentally drop Om Shanti on the breath going in and on the breath that is coming out. But at the same time, you also witness our impure mind drops unwanted, unnecessary thoughts. What should I do? You instantly superimpose Om Shanti on the thought that is coming from the impure. What do you mean? Even if a good thought comes from the mind at this moment, it is not required. What is required? Om Shanti. So you simply superimpose Om Shanti on the thought if it comes. If it doesn't come, you are already dropping Om Shanti on the thought, on the breath, going in and out. In the state of stillness in the body, that you have a good experience now. I know you remember what you are doing. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your Buddha palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms, know your experiences, bring the hands down. How are you, Sophie?
I'm good, thank you, Girish. My mind took some paths, going to some images and little movies, then it came back.
Yeah, that is how we recognize that recognition even of the impurity of the mind is a great thing. So recognition means I can separate myself. And that is how you brought your mind back. That's a good thing.
I think you helped me too. I bet you can see.
Sometimes you can see.
Yeah.
How are you, John?
Hey, Girish, I'm fine. I have various extraneous thoughts coming in, and I'm trying to get them away.
How?
Very busy time of the year, all kinds of stuff to think about. But we survive.
Busy time of the year. Is it in my mind, or is the year is busy?
It's both.
Really?
Sure.
Is the month of December busy? Or it is my mind reflecting busyness in December?
Probably the latter.
So the greater we have a clear and the deeper understanding, it helps us to get rid of it. So it is everything is in my mind. I am busy, it is in the mind. I am free, it is in the mind. So why shouldn't I have a right choice? That is all for today, and we will meet again. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.